Spam! Possibly the most underrated and diabolical weapon of our time, this catchy shorthand shaped the internet as we know it. And before this decade is out, we're going to see a complete shift in the way information is dispersed, how wars are fought, and how the world is organized. And it's all going to use 4 simple letters. Now, what is spam? It's not a allegedly organic prism of tinned meat, as you may suspect, though that is one of the many connotations of the term. Now, spam originated on the early internet when users would copy and paste the entire text of the Monty Python Viking sketch to scroll other users' posts up and off of their screens, deleting them from the board. After that, advertisers began using spam as a strategy to get the most mailers out to the most inboxes possible, and now we all kind of abide by the common definition of spam. Irrelevant noise to just tune out. That's a lie. Now, spam is the tactical removal of scarcity, or removing some weaponized scarcity from the battlefield. Now, to break into spam, we're going to use a pretty basic tactic. Who's benefiting? Who profits? Where's the money going? Let's say that you are an AI company CEO, and now you want to profit from your brand new product, artificial intelligence. So of course, because you have a new product, you're going to want to hop directly onto the internet and start dispersing your product. You want to tell everyone, this thing is so great and cool, it's actually just revolutionary. You can make Studio Ghibli posters. That's basic level marketing. It's nothing new. You just push your product out to people who might potentially be open to using it, maybe, and then hope that they like it enough for it to spread through the market. No, that's yesterday's thinking. Let's go a little deeper. Let's say that you own a lot of stock in, say, a GPU company, and you're just trying to get these things off the shelves. You want them flying, you want R&D budget, you want everything and a half, brother. So how do you do that? Well, suddenly, if a technology comes around that's GPU intensive, like large language models, for example, then you have every incentive to profit off of these things. Tell everyone they need it, integrate it into every software, make sure that it's everywhere, and you're going to keep on profiting. And you're not even going to get kicked out of Congress. Let's go deeper. Let's say that you are a chief executive officer and you want creative talents out of your industry because it costs too much, they're egotistical, they have all these views about how what you're doing is immoral and maybe you shouldn't have pump and dump the market. It's not important. So if you can get a software which needles creatives out of the market, wouldn't you? Everything you can possibly use to leverage any target market closer to your product, you are going to do. AI being cheaper is great for you because then creatives don't have to be in the industry. You can even make them feel insecure about their future career and use that to keep them out of the market. And finally, let's say that you are a corn distributor. Corn. Internet corn. Synthetic fulminated corn. Now, what do you do when your target market is falling off of your corn marketing because they're just too lonely? They can't even connect on that level anymore. They're burnt out. Well, maybe you could make them a digital friend who only ever wants to hang out with them and always has time for them and never has to go to sleep and will always be with them just inside of their hip pocket. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be profitable for you? And all throughout, it never matters that AI is not intelligent, nor is it even really artificial because it relies on human data, otherwise it can't even work. It never matters that you are dealing with a glorified calculator. Just flood the information space faster than critics or common sense can argue against you. And if that don't get rid of your critics, well, you have another round. Destructive spam. And for this one, we're going to start low and slow with an example which everyone can relate to. Let's topple North Korea. This is a 2017 Forbes article written by Mr. Richard Miniter, where he proposes that we bomb North Korea with money, particularly their own counterfeit money. Now, in 2009, the North Korean economy completely ran into the ground because of a slightly botched currency reform, where they attempted to reform their currency, I guess, and that didn't go so well. Now, at that point, the North Korean people didn't simply starve. That's not how human beings work. They started buying food with black market US dollars and Chinese yuan. At some point, half of all the calories consumed in North Korea were being purchased with money that's supposed to be illegal there. But the authorities had to turn a blind eye because otherwise, your people just starve and you don't have a workforce and everything goes down the shitter. So Miniature's plan was to excite such a situation as that by dropping enough counterfeit won onto North Korea that it would run their economy into the ground and force them to start using outside currency again. And potentially, maybe even more so than in 2009. With a few further sanctions, North Korea falls. Now, the plan is flawed. It has not aged perfectly, particularly because North Korea is very much aware of that, and they're actually in the middle of a absolutely absurd plan to make sure that this attack tech will not work on them. If you want to see a video about that, please do the comment thing and subscribe also if you really want to see that. You can see how that's spam warfare, right? You take something which is supposed to be scarce. There's supposed to only be like this many won in circulation at one time, but then you just keep heaping on more won, and suddenly they all lose their value because there is no scarcity, which is necessary for any currency to actually function. And it's not just limited to first world nations like North Korea. America is abandoning the dollar. What has it been, like 24% inflation? On top of all of the corporations doubling their prices because sanctions and tariffs and shit. We're not doing great here. The Treasury Secretary said that digital currency is unnecessary, and we don't need to switch to something like crypto because obviously people like Donald Trump can just pull a crypto rug pull it anytime they want and cash out for $320 million. However, that's also $320 million out of the public's hands that's now in a political leader's hands. That's also $320 million in this supposedly valueless currency. Which is it? Also, Trump just emplaced a strategic cryptocurrency reserve. The governor of Florida is currently trying to make gold transactional currency again in his state. So if cryptocurrency is so bad, why is it everywhere? Why is everyone using it? Why is everyone using even traditional types of currency like gold, which can't deflate as fast as the dollar? Which is it? It's neither. It's deliberate obfuscation via spam. This is covering the entire place in useless information about cryptocurrency and non-dollar value storage just to keep the public out of cryptocurrency until nation states can cover their ass and make sure they have enough crypto to ride out whatever's coming over the next while here for the dollar. It's a ploy. And okay, we're gonna keep this brief. I really don't want to talk about this. Let's talk politics. Okay, so the Trump admin has a pretty advanced view of spam warfare. So early on in the presidential admin, I think everyone can agree that the Republican Party was very interested in controlling information spaces like Twitter, Facebook, and they made inroads with the owners of those services. So they dismantle generally leftist spaces and then take power with full control over pretty much every major center of public discourse. These tariffs are really something, huh? You can see how well this script is aged. Foreign manufacturers are clutching their pearls. US business owners are lying about how much that impacts what kind of profit they're going to need to make. And of course, your average everyday people are sweating because they think they're about to have to go work in the iPhone factory. Trust me, Americans are not good enough for the iPhone factory. Most presidential admins in this time would say, oh, that's nothing. That's the intended plan and it's there to defend democracy. Donald Trump did something different. He made everything worse. 124% tariffs. We're making the iPhones here, folks. Everything about the tariff rhetoric was kicked up to a fever pitch. Every single media source was allowed to just run wild. There was no clarification from the White House. The trick is that this is about how much information the public needs to have about any given government operation from a historical perspective. They're getting about this much. This is what the Trump admin does and has been doing on a evolving scale since 2016. They like to take any given issue, they whip all of the discourse about it up to a fever pitch, and then just as it seems like the public's going to go insane, like Twitter's going to flood over, they switch to a new issue. Like, sending people off to death camps in El Salvador. Sorry, my bad. I didn't mean death camps. I just mean, prisons where you have to work all the time and you don't get to leave. And we can even see this way back when with all of the Department of Government Efficiency stuff, where they said it would clean out the government, it would drain the swamp, where everything was supposed to just be streamlined, and suddenly Doge stopped making the numbers that it was supposed to, which I would never allege is because they couldn't audit the DoD. And then the rhetoric all just switches to tariffs, out of the blue. And then once the tariff numbers stop showing up, we switch over to immigration. And once people realize that they're falling short of their immigration numbers, they switch over to doing a f***ing war with Iran. Are we seeing the pattern here? They take an impossible promise, they cause panic, they switch over to a brand new issue just as that thing is starting to lose steam, and they accept altogether a pretty moderate resolution. Oh, and the tariffs on China settled at 10%. Not that you noticed. And now you can see it. I lied. Spam isn't going to change everything. It already did. This is not going to end. Spam is too powerful a weapon to just take off of the board. When it feels like the walls are closing in on us, how do we push back, say, that's enough, we just want the truth? How do you do that? Now, the first trick is that spam will generally occur within a single defined region. Why is it there? What is going on? What is the attached implication? What are we not supposed to see? Between a certain area of effect, something is happening, so we can guess that within that area, at least something has to be the truth. This isn't always true. Sometimes it is a diversion tactic, but this ain't that video. And second, can you deny that area to the enemy? Can you target the source of the particular spam cloud? If you can induce, say, an internet outage from the server that's using bot accounts, then you can very quickly chop away all of the BS traffic. This has happened multiple times. This happened on Reddit recently. I won't go into who was doing that and why, but also watching Flesh Simulator's video on it is free. That's also known as redefining the boundaries of the battle space. If a Twitter space is just being spammed over and over again, can you switch to a different space where it's much more expensive to send in an army of bots? Watch for this on Twitter and any meta platforms. Elon Musk is really living the autistic experience, though. Being picked up by the popular kid because you happen to have a cool toy and then being dropped as soon as you have a minor meltdown. And I would say minors were involved in that meltdown. Also, the best defense is a good offense. And you can use spam to either target someone specifically by telling them, oh, this is the way the world is. It's always been that way. It's this way. It's actually always like this, and you're wrong. And maybe it's bizarre and weird that you think that, or maybe you're a bigot for thinking what you think. Or you can use destructive spam and simply annihilate their information space with useless BS. I find the second one funnier, but the first one has its place. In essence, at its most basic, my essential point here is that you do not have to be afraid of things just because they are big and scary. You can take this, you can break it, you can counteract it, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything that someone tells you you have to. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be worried. You don't have to panic. You don't even have to care that I'm telling you all of this. You are free. You don't have to do anything. Life is not about what you have to do. It's about what you want to do and the consequences thereof. And I can tell you for a fact that the consequences of subscribing to this channel right now will include new videos in 1 to 2 weeks. If enough people actually want to hear about it, I will yammer about what North Korea is doing with their currency right now, because that is pretty nuts. And just a lot more stuff on information warfare and the future of the battle space that sits between our ears. Thank you for sticking around this long. I'm Antithetical Dogma. Thank you for watching. God damn!